Well, it's lights out and away we go, but with a little extra glitter. What a city to have this happen. The boys are back in town for the final U.S. race in the F1 season, the Formula One season. This time it's taking place in Sin City, the world famous street circuit. It actually cuts straight through the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada. It's a temporary track built on public streets racing along the Las Vegas Strip.
That's special. And on social media, fans have been on edge, worried that weather could delay or even cancel the race altogether. We did see some flooding in Las Vegas, but it didn't reach the circuit. Regardless, the track, it is known to be a tricky one. We have Outkick writer Matt Reigle joining us to help break it all down. Matt, you're the expert here. It seems like a lot of chatter online. Social media, man, it can be a dangerous place, and all you need is one person to just set the fire, right? The will it, won't it, will weather be a factor? Fans have been worried about rain, maybe slippery streets. So how does F1 racing change when we encounter this sort of setup?
Yeah, that's the thing about Formula One. The weather is always one of the biggest factors in it because of track conditions. And that's the thing we've seen in Las Vegas is there's been so much rain. It's kind of made the track a little bit greasy. We saw that in practice last night. There were certain corners where drivers were locking up and going deep almost every lap they took. It's a tough circuit to begin with. But when you throw that condition into the mix, on top of the fact that it can be dusty too, there's not a lot of grip, it's really difficult. And they're talking about maybe some rain today before the third practice session and before qualifying. And that'll just basically wash away any rubber that the cars were able to lay down last night, which improves the grip. So they'll be starting with a green track again, so they'll be slipping and sliding all over the place for a little bit potentially.
So are you telling me, Matt, that these practice sessions, because we know we had 1 and 2 take place yesterday, those sessions kind of add some friction to the street? I find it unique because they call it the ice rink, the circuit's the ice rink, I guess based on how fast these cars go. But is it also due to the tread or lack of tread on these cars? Like what's the reason behind the almost frictionless surface?
Yeah, so when you look at a race car, they usually use what are called slick tires, which means they don't have any tread on them. And that's because it allows the most area of contact with the track. So you have the most tire touching the track, it means the most grip. They will sometimes switch to intermediate or wet weather tires if there's water, and those have tread, and that's designed to kind of clear water away from the track. So what happens with the slick tires is the cars will go over it, parts of the tire will come off on the track, and that'll mean that there's more rubber on the track. There's rubber, and you think about, putting maybe 2 pencil erasers together, there's a lot of friction there. That's what happens with the tires. And it's got to be the same kind of rubber that the tires are made out of. They use Pirelli tires, so it's got to be that same kind of rubber. It's very specific. And like I said, if rain comes, it washes it all away. So they'll be hoping maybe it gets rubbered in a lot. There's more running than there was in, say, last night's second practice session where we only got about 40 minutes of action because of some red flags. But
the intricacies that are so important because they are going so fast, so fast. Okay, back to that confusion on social media, Matt, because this was actually quite funny. And to be quite honest, hit close to home, because earlier, some of the fans that were on social media, that were on X, were worried that it would snow and impact the race. But it turns out they were looking at not only the wrong forecast, they were looking at the wrong city, because instead of Las Vegas, Nevada, in fact, they were looking at Las Vegas, New Mexico. I don't know if you were watching all of this play out, but it certainly caught our attention.
Yeah, that would certainly be interesting. Like I said, the cars can race in rain. Snow would be a totally different situation. There's just no way that they could race in conditions like that. But it would be something to see. I mean, it's the race in Las Vegas is already a spectacle with all the lights. Let's add a little snow to the equation. That would be something to see. That'd be quite the spectacle.
We talked about Mount Charleston, which you can actually see the peak of it from Vegas. I think Mount Charleston picked up over a foot of snow. So you do have the mountains, the spring range, and then you're able to view it, which is a beautiful sight. But yeah, I remember last time we had you on too, Matt. It was we were talking about how the drivers tried to wear those cooling packs on their bodies because of the climate that some of these races have been held in, very hot, desert, dry, similar to what Vegas is, but I guess we can throw all the mix in. With all that considered and the weather in focus, are there racers that might perform well in this environment tomorrow?
Yeah, this is, it's funny. This is usually one of the cooler races that they have all season long. And that tends to favor some teams because of how their cars operate with the tires. It always goes back to the tires. That's like the crux of Formula One. But some teams are better at heating them up, and that's very important because you need the tires in a certain operating window. Certain cars will heat them up a lot faster, and that's big when the ambient temperature is lower, the track temperature is lower. So certain teams are better at that. I know one team that wasn't super jazzed about this weekend was McLaren. They already won the championship, but they were kind of talking last night about this not being one of their tracks. But then there's other teams that have a tendency to kind of get their tires going, a little bit faster and can keep them in that range where they work the best. And they'll be a little more excited. I believe Mercedes is a team that tends to do better in conditions like this. And so, yes, maybe not drivers, but certain teams will certainly be looking at the temperatures and kind of rubbing their hands together a little bit.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah.
And for a dum-dum like me who's watching and trying to quickly absorb all of this, because it is really fun, and the adrenaline rush you get seeing these drivers. How fast are they going, Matt? Because when I'm thinking of people trying to commute on the New Jersey Turnpike on a rainy day, and yes, they're going above the speed limit, but rain is impactful regardless. How fast are these guys or ladies going?
Well, this track is kind of known for being really quick, especially for a street circuit. And on the part that's on the Las Vegas Strip, it's pretty long. So cars are hitting over 200 miles an hour down the Las Vegas Strip when they get toward the braking zone at the end of it. So it's something to see 200-mile-an-hour cars going past these famous hotels with all the lights. There's no race like it on the Formula One calendar, and there's a lot of really spectacular races on that calendar. So it says a lot.
I guess there's no better city to do it than a city full of sin.
What happens in Vegas always stays in Vegas, though.
Limit. Yeah, no, that's true. It's fascinating, and it's something to look forward to. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to clear out the rain. Looks to be okay tomorrow, but if it was yesterday or even earlier this week, it would maybe be a much different story. Yeah. Always cool to have you on. It's great.
Yeah, Outkick writer Matt Reigle, thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see how everything plays out as we head into this weekend.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.